This is the $1 Million Rap Shop Podcast.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the $1 Million Rap Shop Podcast. This is Brent Tatum. I'm your host here, and I have my wife with me, Tabitha.
Hello, everyone.
And wow, it's been a little bit since we've
Just a little
done
bit of
this,
time.
a couple years, and I wanted to jump back into this, one, because I really love it, and then two, because I really love it.
I thought you were going to say because you really love me.
I love spending time with you, yes. So, why did we walk away? It's kind of the thing we've had people ask, why did you stop doing the podcast? What was it? And honestly, we have just been building the business. We've been trying to scale and grow ourselves. And in order to do that, it took a lot of focus, a lot of time, a lot of energy. And we just did not have the time to do the podcast and to do it well. So,
it just became, it wasn't the moneymaker.
right.
So,
definitely.
So not that we don't enjoy doing this, but sometimes you have to shift your focus on the most important things so that you can actually stay in business.
Yeah. And I think it's an important lesson in any business as, my dad used to always say, always go home with the girl that you took to the dance.
I'm glad you always take me.
And
I don't know. How many dances have we gone on?
I don't know. Probably not enough.
I'm not.
We're not dancers.
We're the ones that like to watch.
Yeah. But
Okay,
but yeah, you took it awkward there. But it's focusing on the thing that has brought you to where you are and allowed you to do, things in life, and focusing on that and keeping that the main focus if that's what you want to do. And for us, we knew we wanted to scale and grow, and we had some goals that we wanted to accomplish. And for that to happen, we had to just step away for a little bit. But I feel like we're at a place now that we can sort of realign our focus towards the podcast a little bit more. We have all of our let's see, eggs in the right basket. I don't know if that's the right term, but we have everything in place where we feel like
your vision. Your vision's a little bit more solidified, so you're not being distracted. This is just a plus one.
Yeah, well,
it's a bonus.
For me, it's really hard for me to focus on more than one thing at a time. And I think probably for you too, it's, when you get hyper focused on things, it's just, that's the thing that takes over.
Hyper focused at all.
You definitely do. And that's the thing that takes over. And for us, it was just a business. We had to do that. So we had to step away for a little bit.
Yeah, but a lot's changed.
A lot has changed
in 2 years.
A lot, yeah.
One thing in that time span, I already had braces and have them off, and I thought that was going to be like forever.
Right, and it's come and gone, and like it didn't even happen.
Yeah, I just have a new smile.
Kids are older. That brings new challenges as well. When kids grow up, you step into new territory all the time.
Yeah, we almost have a 13-year-old this month.
Kids are kind of like business. You feel like you have it figured out, and then you get thrown a curveball, and then you're suddenly in a new season, and those new seasons have new problems. So,
or solutions. We're going to choose to look at
opportunities. Opportunities for growth. That's what it is.
Stay positive.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you were saying though, what we were talking about, how a lot's changed.
Yeah.
Since we took a step back, and one of those big things has been the introduction of AI into almost everything that we do.
Yeah.
What do you think has been the biggest shift that AI has caused in the rap industry?
The biggest shift, there's a couple, but the biggest one is probably artwork and the introduction of that. That has introduced some challenges for rap shops, but also some opportunities as well. If you have a rap shop who doesn't have a strong designer, and they either can use AI as a tool to help them get some inspiration or some ideas, or if they're daring enough to use it as the end product, which I would never recommend because it's just not there yet. It's not high resolution enough. It's not.
I think again, it's your whatever your business model is, but we like to cater to being the experts in the field.
Yeah.
And that has taken years of actual like doing
Mhm.
marketing. You grew up in the industry, as
Yeah.
we've talked about before, so you've seen the industry grow, and then you use that in your actual designs, and with your team.
Yeah. And if you're listening to this and you're like, well, what is this? I didn't know it existed. I'll introduce myself a little bit. My name is Brent Tatum. I own Wraps Inc. We are a commercial wrap shop, and we do branding as well in South Carolina. And I grew up in the industry. My dad had a sign company as a kid, and so I worked with him. And then I eventually moved to wrapping NASCAR and doing a lot of motorsports type wraps. And then we eventually moved into the commercial space. So I've seen the evolution of the sign/wrap industry go from, hand lettering to Gerber Edge to, Gerber 4B plotters all the way up to our large format printers that we have now. And it's
And we also went through a recession.
went through a
So we actually
recession.
started our business during a recession
Yes, that was very hard.
when we were doing the Hooters Pro Cup Racing Series.
Yeah.
We were the actual official graphics provider at the time for the Hooters Pro Cup Racing Series. And during that time, there was a huge decline. No, well, first of all, nobody was wrapping. They were like the first ones that were starting to wrap because it was easier for them to wrap all those sponsors
Right.
than it was for them to get the car painted with all of that, and then it could be replaced very easily.
Right.
But trying to get the industry to change commercially from just doing vinyl lettering
Mm-hmm.
or layers of vinyl lettering with a little print, a little
Mhm.
Gerber Edge print,
Yeah.
that was challenging to get people during a time where they didn't have a lot of money to actually spend more for a vehicle wrap.
I feel like the wrap industry as a whole has really evolved, and I do credit like NASCAR and motorsports for a lot of that because those guys had to figure out a way to get a lot of color and a lot of sponsorship and information quickly on a vehicle.
And they had the money to do it because they had sponsors.
Right.
Whereas most businesses, commercial businesses, didn't have that extra money to throw at something like that until they
Right.
saw the value.
And
they saw the value.
And I think now the trying to explain the value of a wrap, I think you don't really have to teach your customer about that anymore
Mm-mm.
because they see that, they already know.
Mhm.
And it's pretty much industry standard now.
Right.
If you have a business and you don't have a truck wrap, then that means you're sort of lagging behind a little bit.
Right.
And it looks like you're like
not really very serious
yeah.
about your business.
or you're not making enough money to do that. And so
Right.
I think the value / the customer trusting you and looking like you actually have a legitimate business.
I think like what's surprising is even though that we're in the industry, it's amazing to me how many vehicles that, I mean, and I know driving that some people, they just maybe don't have the budget for it, or maybe they just haven't had the time to fix their wrap or to get something new. But it's amazing because even for me, knowing that and being in this industry, I already have a presumption about that business.
Mm-hmm.
I assume whether or not they're doing very well,
Right.
if they're really very professional. So I think that I think in order for a business to really stay on top and to stand out, they really should be doing some form of a wrap, whether it's a partial wrap, a full wrap.
Well, let me ask you a question. Since we're in the vein of AI and how that's sort of changing the wrap industry a little bit, you as a female,
Mhm.
because they say that majority of the decision maker in the home is female.
Mhm.
Do you care or do you notice, or would you notice if someone pulled up to the house that had a van that looked like was designed by AI, or does that matter to you? Would you notice that?
I mean, personally,
And
I
pretend that you're not married to me.
Well, so I guess that would be a yes or no for some people. For me, design is important.
Mhm.
And I think something that looks professional is super important. So if it looks like you went and you did some clip art or you just did some Shutterstock images, if you, and I know that we use that in design, but what I mean is just like sometimes it's, to me, it's easy to see if someone just opened a business and then they went online and they got like that Vistaprint kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like it looks like it.
Like the generic house
It
with
just looks
the, you know,
right. But
yeah.
then, but the ones that are AI generated, they almost look like they're too much.
Right.
They look like they have like so much going on, but it's not catered necessarily to their business, if that makes sense.
Right.
To their target market.
Right. And I think that's what a lot of people miss.
It's not a lot of times it's something that they just like themselves individually. And maybe that is true. And you should like your brand. You should like what you represent, but you also have a target market that you're trying to take, like possession of.
Right.
And so I think that's, to me, I think it's important. I do notice if someone looks like if their vehicle looks like it's not very well maintained as far as like the wrap,
Yeah.
or if they are still stuck, no offense for those who are still in vinyl lettering, but I just feel like those are either their business is so big that they just don't need more business, which I don't understand, because personally, I think everybody wants to grow because your expenses are growing, your team is growing, you want more opportunity for your team to make more and to expand more. So that's why, me personally, I just don't know why you would do yourself a disservice and not invest in a wrap.
Right.
So I hope that answered. I will say though, with it, if it's being female and I'm going to meet you at my house, I want to see that. I think it's a lot easier to slap on a magnetic and not really be the real person that's maybe going to be like a mass murderer. That sounds terrible, isn't it? But I mean, the reality is like most
Chuck
people.
in a truck.
I don't know. There might be a Chuck in the truck that might get offended, but I just mean like if you actually took the time to think about your target market and you actually design something for that and it shows up at my house and it all looks together and it's very seamless and cohesive, I'm going to just have more faith that when you do the work that I've hired you to do, you're actually going to do a good job, that you're actually the professional.
Yeah.
And not just someone who's just like putting their foot in the door and just kind of getting started. There's a different look to that. And we tend to cater, like our business is more home service driven for like doing the vehicle wraps for the home service
Right.
industry. But I notice the difference. Also, I have had people that we've hired to come to our home and then neighbors stop by and say, hey, I noticed that you were using this pest control company, or I noticed that you were using, this roofer, what did you think?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, to me, or landscaper,
Right.
why wouldn't you maximize off of that? You're already in the neighborhood. You already have someone who's vouching for what you do. Why not expand that?
Right.
Like you have a rolling billboard that you can put that on. I don't know. But back to the AI model.
Well, I just, touching back to, you said that the way that they keep their vehicle maintained, to me, that shows what, I guess, if someone doesn't hold their own self to a certain standard and they don't treat their own stuff nicely or take care of it, then it shows that they're probably not going to take care of your stuff any better.
And sometimes when something's really old, like I noticed one that that was done a long time ago. It was clear that it had been done a long time ago. It was folding over the edge. It was like a partial wrap, and the edge was folding back. And it was just time. It was clear that it wasn't that somebody installed it incorrectly.
Mm-hmm.
It was just literally just time has passed. But the fact that they didn't actually schedule to look good and be presentable to on the road, like you spent the money, in my opinion, like if you spent the money to look good, you've got the design, you've got the logo, why not just keep that maintained? Like why not schedule a couple hour window if it's just, fixing a window perf or a day? It just makes your business look so much better.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Personally.
If we're moving on with AI, I think the other thing that's really changed in our industry is how easy it is to create a process, to create policy, and some of the things that you're like, is it super important? Is it important enough to go and pay a lawyer to draft up these things and then pay thousands of dollars? But now we feel like, well, we sort of have that at our fingertips. But then it comes into question, like, okay, is it actually legit?
Is it accurate?
Right.
Are there loops? Are there loopholes in
right.
it?
Right. But I
Is
think
this going to stand up in court?
For some of the SOPs and the processes that you can create, I think it's been really great for that. I do, however, think that we are going to see, maybe not in our industry as much, but in other industries where people are just going to get tired of talking to a robot whenever they call someone on the phone. So I still think nothing beats in-person service and an actual human being reaching out to you and catering to your needs and trying to solve problems.
Rather sit here and talk to a robot?
Yeah, no. You look much better than the robot.
Well, I hope you think that, because we only been married 21 years.
And you're much more intelligent.
Well, I don't know about that.
Those are brownie points.
Yeah, I don't know about that. AI can pull some stuff. I mean, they can really keep you engaged. Like, how would you like for me to format that?
Yeah, it's just a yes.
Would you like for me to do this? Would you like for me? And you're just like, man, this thing. Like, but again, like something that we were talking about earlier, it's so easy when you are using it so much in your industry for you to get bogged down by and get lost. It's like a ship without a rudder. And you really have to figure out, you can use it to help you and to assist you, but you really have to have that vision for your business, and you have to actually put the hand to the plow, so to speak. You actually have to do the work.
Right. And I think that's important too.
Before you get to the next thing, you're like, oh, it's like kind of like squirrel, and then all of a sudden you're thinking like, oh, well, let me chat GPT this. Oh, well, actually, and what is kind of ironic though is there is a lot of different information even within that.
Mm-hmm.
So the other day we were out and about and we ran into one of our other entrepreneurial friends that has a business, and they're expanding quite rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just talking business because that's just typically what you end up doing.
Yeah.
I tell Brent, I tell our son all the time, I was like, Maverick, just remember that, ducks of a feather flock together. And I was like, pay attention to who Daddy hangs out with, because that if you notice that, then at the same time, just remember that growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I was just telling him that the other day. I'm like, whomever you're associating with and hanging out with is who you're going to look like.
Right.
And so like, I'm trying to deter him from certain,
bad influences. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I always shift him to you because I think you're a great model.
Thank you so much. I learned
you're the best daddy that they've ever had.
Well, I hope so. I hope I'm the only one.
You're the only one.
Stay on topic, girl. Hold on.
But anyway, so we were out eating, and then we ran into this person, and it was just really interesting because we were just talking about business, and we were just talking about something that he had mentioned was that, and this is something that you were already pondering.
Right.
And it was just so funny that it was so timely, because it's exactly what you were already thinking and talking about. And then he started talking about how sometimes in order to grow, you've got to let go.
Right.
And so what was that like? And what are some of the challenges that have come with that? And in order to grow, you're going to have to let go a little bit.
There still are challenges to that. And yeah, the biggest thing is there are things you do have to let go of, and you have to trust your team. And probably the biggest thing that I have learned is sometimes it's good to let them fail. Because I can't,
which is really hard to do.
It is hard to do, but you have to, nobody grows unless they learn from things. And I think sometimes failure teaches you more than success.
I know on tests, whenever I would practice for a test, I like to go off on tangents, but I always think about it. Every time I was going to take a test, all the ones that I failed, like that when I was practicing, were the ones I never forgot.
Right.
Like it's like embedded in my brain was don't fail. And so I do think that sometimes when we trip and we fall, that we remember, okay, watch your step.
Right. Right. And so
I think that's the same thing with employees and us individually, is that sometimes we do have to fail forward.
Right. And I think when you're growing a business, when you start getting to the point where you have managers that are over departments, I think giving them the right guidance and the right parameters to do their job and making sure they know what they're doing, of course, but there's some decisions that you're not going to be able to make because let's say you're away, let's say you're taking care of something else, which ultimately is the goal if you're in business.
Right.
It's to grow your team or grow your business to where you don't have to be in it daily to operate it.
Well, especially if you're trying to grow, like
Right.
someone, there's only going to be so many visionaries for your business. If you are the leader, the CEO, or
Right.
and you're plugging away and you have this vision, it's hard for you to stay at that vision and stay focused if you're bogged down with all of the procedures and everything else that's
Right.
that's
And
going
I
from
always
location
tell
to
my
location.
team, I say, listen, if I'm wrapping or if I'm designing, then we're losing money.
Yeah.
Because I have to be the forefront. I have to be the one working on the business and not working in the business.
But it's not because you don't like it. And
No,
I
I
think
love
this
it.
is what I think was a hard thing for you to have let go. And I think we've talked about that in past episodes. It was something very hard for you to let go of years ago because you felt like if you weren't actually back there rapping or doing the design or helping with production, if you weren't actually physically the one either doing it or right alongside the people who are doing it, you felt like you're not helping me.
What did I feel like?
You felt like you weren't part of the team. You felt like you weren't doing your job.
I
But
think
your role shifted when you
right.
got, and that's I think where we're growing and sustaining this $1 million wrap shop is that you have to adjust, you have to make adjustments. And for what you did initially when you were just maybe the one and only person who took in the order and did the design and did the production and did the wrap, it has your role as okay, now I've got this many people working for me, or one more or two more, and then you're having to constantly change and be flexible, but your outlook on what you expect, your expectation for yourself has to change because and you have to be able to let go of what your old expectation was in order for you to move forward.
Well, I think part of whenever I started Wraps Inc. and I grew the business, you're used to coming in every day and you're used to just doing. Like you're a technician, you're the one making it happen.
Right.
You're the one that's wrapping the vehicle. You're the one designing the vehicle, whichever role that you started in whenever you started your wrap shop.
But that's what made you feel productive. And that was
right.
the habit that you created. That,
so
okay,
even
I'm
though
really good at this, and I come in, I drink my coffee or my Monster or whatever that is for you to get you going in the morning, you get your music on or your podcast or whatever you're doing, and you get plugged in. But it was hard. It's hard to break old habits to form new.
I remember, and I have to catch myself even now, but I remember whenever we got new floors in the back of the shop, in the garage, it's something I always wanted. I always wanted a nice, clean floor back in the warehouse that looked professional, looked awesome. And once we had that, I remember I would just obsess about cleaning it. And
It's like getting a new car.
And I would take like, I don't know, 3-4 hours just cleaning the floor. Like, yeah, it looks great. And then you get a notice like, hey, you got to pay this bill. And you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have been cleaning the floor. Maybe I should have been like checking my email or actually running the business, like doing what's important.
Yeah.
But sometimes we lose focus of what's important when we're the technician, I guess, and we feel like we're just doing something just to do it.
I think that's
even though it's productive, but I think it's
delegation, but it's learning to delegate.
Right.
So
and that's what I was getting to.
It's still important to you, but now is that where your time is best spent?
Right.
And so if it's not where your time is best spent, that the job that only you can do, then who else can I pay or assign this task to that's still important to me, still looks great, still keeps my goal, and still keeps my, my vision,
right,
going. But
and I think as rappers or designers, we like to be like, oh, I can rap better than anybody, I can design better than anybody, and you like to show your staff that because you want to be like the top dog. You want them to look up to you and your skills and be like, wow, he's amazing, But honestly, I would rather not be the best at doing that, because
let's let's be a little truthful there. Okay.
I would no.
No. My husband is very competitive. And so he likes you like to be the one to be able to come in and do it. But you also have realized that that's not where your time is best spent. And you've also given yourself a little bit of grace in the sense that the person who's doing that job day in, day out, you know, they should be the best at it. And if you are taking a break from it, it's kind of like whenever, and I think everybody knows how this feels. You go on vacation, you have an extra long weekend, or you had Christmas break or whatever, and you come back and it's hard to kind of get back into the groove when you're coming back in on that Monday or that Tuesday, whatever that after that little break is, and you're just trying to, okay, well, I know how to do this. I do this every day, but I had this little extra break. How do I get back into it? Like, how do I get back into that group? And so I think as a business owner, you had to learn that, and it's somebody who wants to feel productive. It's easy to see I think the biggest thing is that when you're wrapping or doing production or design, you have an end result. You see instant gratification right away, right? So you're going to feel that productivity right away. I wrapped that vehicle. I see the result. I designed that. I see the result. Right. It's harder for you to see the result right away in just having that vision for your business, keeping the processes and the systems in place.
Well, we also revert back to what we know and what we're comfortable with doing. So if you're the rapper or the designer, you're jumping right back into that because you're comfortable doing that. You're good at it. And, you know, to run a business, whenever I started the business, I never dreamed of doing sales tax. I never dreamed of managing employees. Like that's not my passion. My passion was design or rapping. And so, but as the business grows, you have to grow too.
Right.
And you have to be able to adapt, and you have to be able to let go of some of those things that you couldn't do, or that you were good at doing that you didn't trust anybody to do previously. And you have to find a new position for yourself, which is you actually have to be the owner of a business.
Right.
If not, you just have a really stressful, expensive job.
Right. But you can only do so many, like it's kind of like emotions. You only have so much emotion that you can have in a day. Like they say, like you can either be so angry or sad or, you know, like, so you only have so many hours in the day. You cannot physically sustain doing every single job the way you did when you first started forever. If you're growing, that means if you're growing, you're going to have new tasks. You're going to have new things that maybe you, like you said before, like you didn't think about having to do. Like, I'm going to have to do sales tax. I'm going to have to meet with my accountant. I'm going to have to meet with my attorney on this thing. Right. Like you don't really think about those things, but someone has to. So if you're bogged down doing all those things, how can you really continue being the vision and taking your company in the direction that you want to? So in order to grow, you have to let some things go.
Yeah. And I think a part of it, especially the day and age that we're in now, where everybody wants everything yesterday, even especially with design now, with the AI thing that we're talking about, is they can put in a prompt and it spits out a design in 2 seconds, and then they bring it to you, and then you have to explain to them, okay, well, I understand that you have this design, but we have to actually redesign it, and so it takes time. So if you're the one doing everything in the business and everybody wants everything right now, you're never going to be able to keep up. And that's the hard thing is, you know, times are different than when we first opened.
Yeah.
You know, business is different.
There's a lot more competition.
Yeah. Not only that, but just the information that is out there available to the clients, like they know more.
Right.
Raps are more popular now.
Right.
You know, when we started in 2006, it was just sort of like I remember it. I would liken it to like Orange County Choppers, how they would build a theme bike and they would put all of this thought and design into this one bike, and that bike would be the showpiece for the business. That's how raps used to be.
Right.
You know, I remember wrapping part of the wheels and the Chevrolet emblem and all this stuff because that was the one vehicle that they were going to take to all the trade shows, and that was going to be like their showpiece vehicle.
Yeah,
But now it's the whole fleet.
but you were able to kind of charge for it, and you were able to put like all of your concentration on that. But like you're saying, it's the entire fleet.
So yeah, you don't have time to sit there and do all these little nuanced things to the vehicle because you have to worry about wrapping an entire fleet. And if you're the one doing everything, you'll never be able to stay caught up, and you'll never be able to meet those deadlines.
Right. But when you said that, you kind of triggered to the idea though, that it also has to be profitable. So
Right.
you could spend all your time on one job, but if you don't actually have a profit from that job, you're not going to be sustainable. And
Right.
that's what our podcast is about: building, growing, sustaining.
Yeah.
And that's super important, that if you're just doing, you have to adapt, because you have to be profitable. And if you don't adapt, you won't be profitable.
Right.
If you're
And
not growing with the cost of living going up, I think everybody's feeling the inflation, going. I think you went and bought some deodorant the other day, you were blown away, but it's like $10 for just one thing. I used to make $6 an hour. So like, that's, I'm not kidding. Like, when I think about
It'll
that,
take you more than an hour to buy some deodorant.
I literally remember going to Chick-fil-A and then thinking, how many hours do I have to work to eat this meal? Is it worth it? Like, I remember thinking, like, okay,
Is it worth me living to work?
This gallon of milk is like $3 and some cents back then.
Yeah, it's like,
yeah.
I don't even, how much is a gallon of milk now? I don't even know.
I mean, my standards have been raised. I don't like all the hormones and all the other stuff, because I think that we have more information
Right.
that we're talking about, and that information has made me make better informed decisions, but it's costing me. But not only is it costing me, but it's costing everybody else. And so I think that's you can have that niche thing that you're doing. It just needs to be profitable, and it's got to be sustainable.
Yeah. And I think if we're kind of wrapping things up on information, and with AI and everybody having, it seems like, endless information to a lot of things now, you really have to make sure that you are doing an amazing job at every part of the business, where there's design, production, wrapping, because your client has most likely researched a lot of things before they've even walked into your door. And so the more that you can be on top of those things and actually learn, like, what do my clients need, what are their needs, and how can I better serve them, will only do you a better disservice, actually, to running your business and to growing it and sustaining it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we'll leave it there for today.
So how long are we going to walk away for now?
No, we're back. We're back. We're not walking away.
We're back.
Not unless something happens. But
it's been fun. I think our conversation today has been fun.
Yeah.
I think that we talked on a few extra topics that wasn't our plan to talk about.
Right.
But I think flows, and maybe there's something, a little nugget there that helps you, hopefully. And whether it's building, growing, or sustaining your wrap shop.
Right. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
This is the $1 Million Wrap Shop Podcast.